Multifamily Mindset
podcast. Think bigger.
Welcome back to another episode of the Multifamily Mindset podcast. I'm your host, Zach Rucker, co-founder of Black Cedar Investments and coach here at the Multifamily Mindset. If you're just joining us, welcome aboard. We're so happy to have you here in our growing community. A quick rundown: every Tuesday we do interviews with students about their journey and experience in the multifamily journey and joining the network. And then on Thursdays, Dallas, my friend, our mentor, mindset mentor, jumps into the different mindset principles he can pull from these student stories. And that's not all. On Wednesdays, Tyler Devereaux, the founder of the Multifamily Mindset, has his own podcast called Own the Outcome, where he interviews high-level individuals and dives into their stories and high-level principles as well. So if you're just joining us, you're wanting to learn more about real estate, mindset, you're in the right place. With all that being said, we're going to dive right into this episode. And I'm so excited to introduce our guest today, Ayesha Khalid. Did I say that right?
Perfect,
Awesome.
Zach.
I'm so excited to have you on today. The listeners are going to learn so much from you, and not hopefully, they will come away motivated from this. So with that, let's just dive in. Who is Ayesha, and what did you do before multifamily? But diving in, and then let people know, how long have you been in the network?
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast. So I am an ear, nose, and throat physician, an ear, nose, and throat surgeon, and I was doing nothing related to real estate until last November when my husband and I went to the training course for Multifamily Mindset. And I continue to practice ear, nose, and throat medicine as we are on this journey. We came in new and we've been in the network since November of last year, and it's been amazing.
That's awesome. So November of last year. Okay. And now, so just over 6 months, closer getting to 8 months now. What have you been able to accomplish in this short time?
So sometimes you come to a place and you come with a lot of trepidation because I didn't know anything about real estate. We had this amazing strategist, Cindy McGuire, who said, "What are you going to do differently than you've both been doing all this time?" And I said, "Oh, I want to buy back my time. I want to find a way to spend time with the kids." So she advised us. We literally dove right in. We did 2 deals as LPs to learn the process while we were trying to figure out how to be a GP or how to form a team. And so we did an LP in November. We did one in late December, early January. And then I came home one day and my husband informed me that he had signed us up to capital raise on a deal with Jim Bone, one of our other strategists in Jacksonville. And it was an amazing ride. And completing that in March, we went ahead and GP'd on another deal with Brian Twitchell with another team in Iowa. So it's been an amazing journey. It seems like a whirlwind and we still have a lot to learn, but I've loved it.
Wow. Yeah, that is awesome. So I've been a part of 4 deals. And so those that are listening in, LP, GP, LP means limited partner. That's when you're investing your capital passively into these deals. And then GP is a general partner, being more active, having a role on the ownership team that's helping close these deals. So that is awesome. 2 deals as an LP to learn the ropes, which is awesome. I'm sure you learned so much by just investing in those deals, right? Where you said before you didn't even know anything about real estate, then jumping into MFM, learning just headfirst in investing as well to learn the ropes from that side. And then you got the opportunity to be a part of some deals. And that's awesome. I love your story with your husband. You just coming home and your husband's like, "All right, we're doing a deal. We got a deal to do, and we're just going to get to work."
Absolutely, because I told him I had not learned anything and everything I needed to for underwriting. We had covered path, but I hadn't, done all the analysis in Excel yet. And, I struggle from perfection being a standard, but now I've learned perfection is the lowest standard, right? We all need
Wow.
progress. And so I feel like jumping in with MFM in particular, with the strategists being on this deal and just telling us try it and ask us for help along the way, and we'll coach you. That was huge. I don't think that we could have done it on our own. I definitely don't think I could have, figured it out. The other thing I'll say is from LP to GP, when we started capital raising and I had to take someone through the capital raising, like physical process, I had gone through the forms or creating a self-directed IRA, just a lot of steps with financial paperwork that was really helpful when you're taking investors through it. So I think that was one of the biggest values of being an LP.
Yeah. I mean, that's huge to be able to do that. I mean, a couple of things there is one, you guys just took massive action, but you joined a network of people that are doing this, that you're able to attach to and learn from while you're doing it. You're taking massive action, even though you don't know all the ropes, but you're learning along the way. You're just jumping into the fire, right? And then, yeah, your experience from being an LP, you understand that process, and that is so valuable to bring circle around to the GP side. Of, okay, I've done this before, so I know where the investors' heads are at. I know what they're processing and going through, questions that they have. I've had those same questions. You can easily answer those and make them feel comfortable. That makes it a lot smoother process for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that happened was I learned that people had the same hesitation that I did, which is investors don't want to sound as if they don't know something. No one wants to ask, quote unquote, a dumb question, even though there isn't one. So if they were stuck on some numbers or some paperwork or learning about where they could look up tax information or ask their accountant about the deal. And so I would preemptively tell them, if you look through the portal and something doesn't make sense or these numbers, let's do another call in a few days to go through it. And so then they would feel more comfortable with the deal. And I think that part really helped for the capital raising.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure that did. It just giving them that opportunity to ask those questions and feel comfortable asking those questions. That's great. Awesome. So I want to switch a little bit to another topic, and this is one thing I really enjoy our conversations that we have. I know other people feel it, but your enthusiasm, it's very contagious of having your enthusiasm, and I know it's played a role in this. So I'd love to dive into that. Your enthusiasm and how important that has been to you, and how has that affected you jumping into this and getting to where you're at in this short time.
Absolutely. So one thing that you don't know, Zach, is that my name Ayesha means lively. And I feel like there's always this background that brings people to where they are. I love engaging with people. So as we were considering, what role to take, and capital raising seemed one that could be interesting for folks that are new to, real estate community and multifamily. I'm enthusiastic because I'm enthusiastic about helping people. And so whether or not they invest in a deal that we're looking at or raising money for, it doesn't matter. My goal is to really impart all of my energy to the person that I'm speaking with. That brings me energy. And I don't know, I feel like there's never enough enthusiasm. I feel that, whether it's at my workplace, in a hospital, or anywhere that you meet people outside these days, many people are tired or jaded, and just having a little bit of positive energy and asking someone how their day is going, finding out what their goals are. I learned that through a lot of the trainings that you all offer in multifamily, which is, don't just jump into the deal, which I was super guilty of doing in the beginning, but really pause and find out what excites the person at the other end and what their goals are in life. And just take that and run with it, right? And try to imagine how you can help them get there. So I think you could never be too enthusiastic.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. Never can be too enthusiastic, and it does. You're pouring your energy in, and that's felt. And I know that's why I walk away from our conversations that we have, coaching calls and these conversations. I walk away from with more energy. Hey guys, if you're enjoying this podcast, we'd really appreciate it if you could take a moment, leave us a review and a rating. Your feedback helps us improve and reach more listeners. Plus, we love hearing from you. Thanks so much for your support. Like, oh, that was awesome. I'm feeling great. So I love that, and I know I appreciate that, and I'm sure many others do as well when they talk to you, especially investors. With that, you have all the enthusiasm, and you're in this with your husband. What role does he play in this? Is he as enthusiastic as you are? What does that look like, that dynamic?
Well, we're the perfect couple because we're total opposites. He is often very analytical, very realistic, but he also understands the long game. It took me a little while, despite my enthusiasm, to say, gosh, that person said no. Can you believe they said no to my awesomeness and our awesome idea and this awesome deal? And he pauses and he's very good about, maybe this isn't the right time for them. It isn't that they don't want to diversify their investments. They first need to sort of take stock and discuss it with their spouse or their partner. And he reorients back to fundamentals, which is what's your financial outlook? So I think that that's number one, that's really good. The second thing is there's a lot of deals that we've looked at, even to raise money for, where my enthusiasm has led me to say, let's jump on the next deal. And he has looked at it and said, but does this meet all the metrics we're looking for? Could we bring this to our possible investors knowing that we would want to invest in this deal? And I think you always need someone like that on the team, because when you're starting out as a student, you're so eager to get deals done or be on a deal that you have to learn to say no or not jump onto everything. And I think that is maybe the toughest part when you're starting in this business, to know when to say no.
Oh, that's huge right there. Uh, Knowing when to say no, that's a big one because you can spend a lot of time jumping into deals, and you're underwriting a deal, and you want to make the numbers work, and you get attached to it, and you're like, this has got to be the deal. If this doesn't work out, then nothing's going to work out. You almost go to extremes, and that's the same thing with opportunities. There are so many. There's an abundance of opportunities. There's always going to be opportunities. If you miss out on one, like, you didn't miss out. There's going to be another one. And not having the scarcity mindset, especially jumping in. First off, I'm sure it's like, hey, we gotta take on the opportunities that come our way. Like, well, you need to filter them out. Make sure you're aligned with those. And that's where, I do see some people make those mistakes of jumping in a little too quick. They need to make sure they understand or know the people that they're being tied to for the next 5 years, right? And that process, making sure it fits your investors' metrics, right? I think those are big keys right there. So,
well, we've learned, sorry, I didn't mean to
oh, no,
interrupt.
go for it.
We've learned in the two GP deals, particularly the one that's months in now, that you are married to your investment team that, capital raised and asset managing, and you're also married to the property until it sells. So learning to pause and be sure that you're really comfortable with that, you're really comfortable with the people you're working with. But the other thing you said is exactly what was happening for me, which is every single day taking a pause and sometimes listening to Dallas or Tyler. My husband would remind me, it's really important not to have this scarcity mindset. Like, MFM is not going to go away tomorrow if I didn't get on a deal and I wasn't successful right at the beginning. And I think that if you understand that there really will be opportunities and many of them will be great, and not all of them are ones that you can jump on, but that you devote enough time to one deal at a time to really learn, I think that's huge. Because I tend to be a person, I'm a surgeon, so I tend to run on adrenaline and I want to take on more. And so just being able to pause and say, wow, I learned a lot from all the folks that said no to putting money in, more than I did from the folks that easily said yes. And I think that was really key what you said right there.
Yeah, no, it's really good. So, kind of flipping the script a little bit there, taking the time to understand those, the other side of it is, besides enthusiasm is the imposter syndrome, right? You have all this enthusiasm, but there's always this, I wouldn't say always, but there's this nagging thing that comes in our head sometimes, of just imposter syndrome that, hey, maybe we're not supposed to be doing this, or I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not even qualified to do this. Does that ever happen to you? And what's that impact like?
So that's huge. That's been huge my entire life. You know, people might look at me and say, my gosh, you're a successful surgeon, you're a woman with a great job, you have it all, you guys have it really put together. But the reality is, truly, until last year, until I don't know, something happened, and just spiritually, I felt super connected to the folks in MFM and felt, okay, here's a community that believes in me and can push me forth. Otherwise, that voice in my head said, you've just been lucky. You've been lucky with the opportunities you've had. Things work out, but do they really work out because you're making it happen, or is it the circumstances? Beating down that imposter syndrome. And, I think there was one session, which, by the way, when I first heard Dallas, you mentioned Dallas at the beginning speaking, and then I heard him at peak, I tried really hard to tune him out because I was convinced that I personally didn't need growth mindset or
Mm,
all of this mindset stuff in path, because I was just going to push forth and get right to the deal parts of the
mm,
learning.
yeah.
But I think there was something in there where he talks about the only thing holding yourself back is you. And there's so many times that, I've heard that in courses or trainings. But I think for the first time, I've really started to believe that many of us are capable of a lot more than we think, and we're limiting ourselves.
Yeah.
After doing the deal and then doing another deal, and now we're looking for the next one, it doesn't mean that imposter syndrome doesn't come back on a Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday. So I just want to be clear that I finally understand why people have daily rituals. I have finally embraced that you need to have, whether it's prayer or incantations or affirmations or journaling, something that helps ground you to kind of keep moving you forward. Because if you're starting as a student like we were in MFM, every single day you need to do one little thing to move forward. And it can be a little thing or a big thing. But then you can look at yourself and say, okay, I'm excited by who I am today.
Yeah. It's so good. So many people skip over the mindset piece, because it can be very mainstream, or talked about a lot in a lot of places, and people are just like, I don't need that, I'm fine, like I've done well. But the impact it has when you do take the time to look internally, and the reason why you probably say, I don't need that, is because you do need that. Everybody needs it. But the impact that plays on being on the imposter syndrome is huge. To be able to work past those things, really, you are the one that's limiting yourself. And I think that's huge that you're able to recognize that, that, and the fact that you've dealt with it for a good portion of your life. I think that's, most of our listeners can relate to that, to some degree.
48 years, 48 years. And I'll be honest, I printed out, there's a section in Path that has the steps. It's like 14 steps that, Dallas recommends that everyone, this is a sample morning routine. So what I did was I printed it out, and then I couldn't do all 14. So I decided this is useless. If you can't do every single step, why do it at all? And then I realized, oh, it's about maybe doing 2 or 3 daily until you feel like you can add what works for you. And I just want everyone that's, on this call listening to this to understand that for those of us where something new, like whether it's real estate or any business, if it isn't working out, it might be because you're starting to give up on yourself. And so
Mm,
you're no longer being resourceful because you're looking at your resources and you're saying, well, I don't have this, or I don't know this, or this part I haven't been able to get help with. But if you can just pull out of your head and say, you know what, there's people around me that will help me do this. I just need to ask. And I need to understand that I can't do it all. That doesn't make me imperfect. That just makes me human. Um, so I remember those 14 steps because they were sitting on our desk printed for weeks and I didn't want to look. And finally I said, you know what, I'm just going to pick 3 and see if I could do those. And some days I don't get through all 3 of those, but most days I do. So that's been huge for me in the last 6, 7 months.
Yeah, that is huge. I mean, just a couple things a day in your morning routine can make a huge impact. And I was the same way. Like the miracle morning, there's 7 things or something like that to do every morning, and follow this kind of schedule. And I tried it for a couple of times, and I can't get through all this. Yeah, I'm not going to do it. I throw it
To wake
aside.
up at like 3, like Tyler and Dallas, and start
Yeah,
that.
and start then, get your full workout in, get reading books, meditation, all that. I couldn't do it. I'm falling asleep while I'm reading a book or doing meditation because I got up too early, and I I set myself up for failure with that because I try to do too much at once. And we got to follow more of the book Atomic Habits, which is implement one habit, get that going, actually make it a habit. So 30, 60 days doing the same thing, then add another one on top of it. Okay, focus on that new habit with your previous habit, and then add another one. 30, 60 days of doing that. And it's a compound effect that will keep growing. But I think sometimes we try to do the quick fix, which is if I just do all of these, I'm going to be successful right now. Like this is going to change my life this moment if I just do all of this. And we get burnt out, or like you mentioned, the beginning is the perfectionism, trying to be perfect, and then failing at that because you just set yourself up um, for failure, right? You didn't set yourself up for success by 1% better each day.
I'm giggling because I started Atomic Habits probably 3 times in the last many months. I, was reintroduced to the concept. This is such a great book at the training, but I'm finally halfway through it. And it does say exactly what you're saying. Just pick one thing. And if you do 1% for a whole year, that's 37% better. And I swear to you, I had to really ponder that math. Like, well, what about all the other things I want to get done? But just pick 1 or 2 things. And next year you can improve 1 or 2 other things. So I love that. I think that's huge.
Yeah, it plays a big impact in everything we do. For doing deals in multifamily, pick one thing to do, one investor to call, one deal to start looking at, one property manager, one broker to call. Just start with one little habit to do, and do that consistently. Don't worry about anything else, right? I love that. It's very impactful to start there. Um, there's time. Like, doesn't mean put off things, right? It doesn't mean put it
Right,
off, but it
right, right.
means, hey, be realistic with what you're capable of, and then go from there. And that's where your husband comes into play, right? Where he's the realistic one, the analytical one. I'm that same way where it's okay. Let's dial this
It's
down.
progress, right? It's steady
Progress. Yep.
progress.
Yep. Sweet. Well, I love diving into that piece. It was kind of switching a little bit. Well, not necessarily switching, but diving a little bit more deeper into this mindset, right? This mindset that's there, these habits. Um, what you mentioned this at the beginning, but I kind of want to bring this back around. Cindy, the co-host of the podcast, also a strategist. She asked you this question when you went to the workshop, and you were listening and learning about multifamily for the first time. And she asked you this question: how is that working out for you? Can
Mm.
you kind of replay that of what was going on at that time, and then how did that really kind of flow into this where you're at now, growth mindset piece?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we have 3 kids. 2 of our kids, I was sitting there, we were telling her are out of the house, working and in college. Our third kiddo's in high school. And the whole theme of why we're doing this is how do we have more flexibility of time in life and to be able to give contribution and spend time with our family? And when she said, how is this working out for you? I started telling her all the things I'm already doing. But in the back of my head, there's this quote, maybe by Einstein, been attributed to Einstein, that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And I remember that she asked the question 2 or 3 times, and I realized I'm continuing to give her an answer that is not going to yield different results. So I guess I have to sign up, take massive action, but then also carry forward that promise to myself that a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, our life will be different. My life will be different. I'll be able to spend time with our kids, with future grandkids, with our chosen family, being able to travel, being able to contribute and enjoy working rather than feeling like you have to work in order to earn a living. I think that's a very different concept. So that growth or that light bulb, I think, was sparked at the workshop and then probably continued because you all have these amazing, Tuesday or Wednesday nights where you have to listen to it until it sort of sticks in your brain that you can do something differently and think bigger. And I don't think I was thinking big enough, actually, until MFM. And suddenly it seems that folks that were in the class much younger than I, 18, 20, 25 years old, were thinking way bigger. And it was so impressive. So I've been trying to keep some of that energy every day.
Yeah, I love that. So thinking bigger, I mean, it really does open your mind to possibilities. Like there is an abundance out there of things that we can accomplish and do. And so being able to think bigger, it's not dreaming, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
just it's opening your mind to possibilities. You mentioned this earlier is living to our potential, and we have what I believe is uncapped potential of what we can accomplish in our lives. We might think our story is already written for us, but I know this is something we've talked about, is that you can always change that, right?
Mm.
You can rewrite your story. There's always a chance to do that um, at any moment. There's a there was a post I saw, a picture I saw on social media this week that showed all the options from your previous path or your past of all the decisions you could have made and routes you could have gone down. And then it was a line right in the middle. I said, okay, you're here though. All those other
Mm.
places could have take you, in different spots, but you're here. And now here you have the choice, and any choice you make of the many choices can take you down these different paths. Don't worry about what's happened in the past. You get to choose today where you're going to end up in the future. And
Mm-hmm.
you have that choice. And so focus on that. Don't look about the past anymore, but focus on, hey, today I have the choice. Do I want to change my narrative or do I want to stay where I'm at? And you in your conversation with Cindy was, "Ah, I've written my path. I'm good. Like I'm fine. Life is
Right.
good. We're just moving along." But then if she kept asking you, there was a realization, you mentioned this of, well, there's a reason why I'm here.
Mm.
The reason I showed up. It's because you realize in your present that there was a chance, or there was slim in your mind, your subconscious, there's a chance to change our future from where we're at. And you could say you had no business of being in that room because you had no real estate experience, right?
Yeah. I
But
mean,
the
I was going to say this, this gives me chills because I think God gives us abilities beyond what we all use, right? As human beings. And we're so hard on ourselves sometimes about, what's in our immediate ethos of the work we should be doing or the deliverables we might have at our job or to our family. But every now and then, like a door opens or a window opens. And the question is like, do you reach for that opportunity?
Mm,
And I think that, a lot of times we're afraid, but probably that's when we need to reach for that opportunity. And
mm,
that's sort of what I felt. I was excited at this workshop that my husband found and dragged us to. but I was also afraid about what lay at the other end, because the other end might be a very different life. And yet, I think for anyone out there who's contemplating, do I want that life? You can decide that later. If you know now that you want to change and do something different, try it. And if it doesn't work, you'll try something else. But if you're not happy with where you are, then that's not going to change. That's a certainty.
Yeah. Yeah. Huge. It's not going to change. As long as you sit there, it's just not going to change. And I love that, because it was 7 months ago, I guess November last year. And you're in your practice,
Yes.
right, and doing all that. 7 months later, you had no clue where you were going to be at in 7-8 months. You had no clue. But you're here, been a part of 4 deals, and you guys are just moving. And the power of that decision has changed the trajectory of your life, and for your children too, from that one decision to show up, um, to listen to your husband as he's dragged you there, and then you guys to jump into this together. And then every decision you made from then on, right? There's been multiple decisions, but you can go back to that one decision that's led you down to here where you are today. And I think that's very neat, and it is an inspiring, of what you can accomplish. And it's not the same for everybody, the same path, but like you said, you can, if it's not working out for you, you can try something else.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say, whereas I've made it sound super rosy, the reality is it's also a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
there were days where the decision was exactly as you stated a few minutes ago. Do we make another call to an investor today or not? And by the way, we might spend some time getting to know someone and they won't invest. And we
Mm-hmm.
still did it. And so the days and nights of hard work that may not feel like it's paying off right in that moment, it will all sort of come together in the next days, weeks, or months. And it's hard to see that path when you're in a space that's completely new. So I will say, trusting the process of, going through the deal. I was just last week saying, oh gosh, we have to find our own deal and source it and do it from beginning to end. And then I realized, all right, we're getting there. There's still a lot to learn. There's a
Wow.
lot to learn from the LP process. There's a lot to learn from the asset management side. There's underwriting classes to still attend and practice with. So you don't have to get there right away. And there is a lot of hard work. But if you just always choose with him and do the work, not going to complain, I'm going to be excited. And hardest of all, I'm going to ask for help.
Yeah. Wow.
Because
Yeah.
because I might have gone to, I remember Jim Anderson saying this. I might have gone to, 25 years of school, but literally my husband and I were sitting in the room and we knew the absolute least about real estate, like zero. So it was pretty amazing for me to just be able to learn from people from all ages and all walks of life. But you have to have that humility, I think, to say,
Mm-hmm.
you know what, like I can learn from everyone here.
Yeah. Wow. So many gold nuggets from the past minute or two that you just dropped there. That it is hard, and you got to make that decision every day. And like we said, with habits, if you just put your head down and do it, you're gonna look up and realize, oh, whoa, where am I at 6 months down the road? Wow, I have accomplished a good bit. And then recognize that, right? And celebrate, and then put your head back down and let's keep going, right? Keep grinding
Right.
through, because we understand the the benefit now, right? With the impact that it's created, and so forth. So with that, I think it was a great point to transition to our think bigger questions. So with that, how do you choose to think bigger?
I choose to think that I can now, God, there's so many ways. The biggest way I choose to think bigger is just to impart to our kids that I am thinking bigger, that it no longer is about what I'm doing at the present moment. It's just imparting the confidence that folks can learn to do just about anything, given enough time and effort. And that's a big mindset shift for me. It's taken away limitations of what field I should be in or where I should be living or what job I should have.
Yeah. So just relaying that to your kids.
And showing them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, it's big. I love that. Okay. The next question is, how do you define success?
So for me, success is defined by getting up in the morning, looking in the mirror, thinking about what you did the day before, and just feeling really good about yourself, who you are as a person, and what you've done to help yourself and others. Success is not defined, I think, how I used to feel by titles or even deals or how much money you have. It's actually being able to be absolutely joyous and content with exactly where you are right now.
I love that. Right there at the last point is joyous and content at where you're at. That's success. Yep. Last question. What is the best advice you can give new multifamily investors or students?
Don't give up. Don't give up. If you get stuck, if you came to the training and you tried for a few months and you're stuck, don't give up, even if it means getting on a call, one of your coaching calls that everyone has with your camera turned off because you're nervous that Tyler might call on you. If your camera's on, that's completely fine. But don't give up, because there will be somebody in that group that can hold your hand and walk you to the next step. And this community is willing to help you do that. So I see a lot of people starting and then not necessarily continuing. And I feel like it's because they feel alone. But I would just say, don't give up. Just keep walking forward, ask for help, reach out to the coaches like Zach, and they'll get you somewhere, right? Somewhere forward from where you are now.
Perfect. I love that. So to recap, I have covered a lot of just gold nuggets, a lot of highlights that I know I learned, I took away from, and I really appreciate it. But some things is have enthusiasm, right? Come in with enthusiasm. Even if you don't know 100% what you're doing, you have the enthusiasm, you're genuine. We covered this with Jeff as on a previous podcast, as being genuine, being authentic. But that comes with being enthusiastic, really caring for those people, and sharing that energy because they feel that, and through that, people are going to want to follow you, right, and help you and be a part of the journey. The other ones that you just kind of covered is joy, right? Having the joy and in what you're doing every day for defining success, right? Um, growth mindset, habits. We covered so much today. Being resourceful, I think, was a huge one that you mentioned. Is people start to kind of give up because they're not being resourceful. They have resources, but they're not being resourceful. They're not maybe utilizing those resources, or they don't realize some resources that they actually have, because they're focused on what they don't have, right? And
Right.
so being resourceful, and that's just going to lead to a lot more. And then, yeah, growth mindset. Just continue to push. The mindset is a big piece in all of this, and allow yourself to think bigger. Allow yourself to uh, be vulnerable too in that, and be in situations like you said. You went through so much schooling, yet you're in a room that you knew nothing about what was going on, because you were vulnerable in that and humble and trying to learn and gather. So that plays into this thinking bigger, that there's more out there. You can write your story, right? Any last pieces that you want to share?
I think, well, first of all, thank you to you, Zach, because there were times where I was having imposter syndrome, and Zach would reach out with an email and say, "Hey, we haven't done a coaching call in a while." So thank you for that, because that pulls us forward. The second thing I'll say is I am a true believer in the universe and in the law of attraction. And I think that success for people, whether it's real estate or anything else, often has to do with just knowing that what is coming at you, there's a reason for that. So if you're calling a broker, or if today you decide to attend a certain Zoom session or go to a coffee chat, meet up with someone in real estate, there's a reason for that. And a lot of times, if we just sort of do what is coming at us in a thoughtful way without rejecting the utility of it, it'll actually propel you a lot faster than trying to very intellectually navigate the system of real estate, if that makes sense. So I'm just a big believer that the universe will help you if you let it. We're just so busy questioning everything that's happening. So that's why I said don't give up, because everything you need is right there in front of you. You just need to like maybe close your eyes and take a breath and jump in.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, speechless there, because if you missed that, listeners, like go back, listen to the last part, allow yourself opportunities and then jump in. Speaking as someone that is more on the analytics, realistic mindset, I overthink sometimes, and I analyze situations and that's not going to work. Or hey, I can meet up with this person. Well, that's going to take 2-3 hours of my day. Then I'm going to be behind. The moments that I just ignore that and I go forward, that opportunity opens up so many more doors. And I was the one that shut that door previously, right? So I love that you brought that up, because it's very powerful in that just don't give up and allow those opportunities to come in. Well, Ayesha, thank you so much for your time today. It was so impactful for me to jump on with you and share your story. So I appreciate you jumping on. Listeners, if you want to get in touch with Ayesha, we have her contact information in the show notes. So reach out to her, get some of her enthusiasm from her, feel that energy, and keep going, because it fuels me as well having these conversations. And with that, if you guys like this episode, please like, share, subscribe, give us a review as well, because it goes a long way and it helps impact more lives. And that's what we're here to do. So with that, thanks, Ayesha. And
Thank you.
listeners, we'll have you next time.
Multifamily mindset. Podcast. Think bigger.